What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Jared, the host of the Lagniappe podcast, giving you a need and news and interviews. Today, I'm celebrating a huge milestone. Today is my 100th episode, so I had to give you a heavy hitter to come on the show today. So I got my boy, somebody I've been knowing since I was 14 years old. I ain't gonna tell you how long we've been knowing each other, so I won't tell my age. But I've been rock and roll with this man since I was 14 years old at Brothermore High School. But I will let him introduce himself to y'all. So no further ado, here is Todd McDonald, the president of Liberty Bank and Trust and Company. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me, Jared. This is an honor to be here. Looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, bro. It's been a long time coming. Been trying to get on the show for a while, but now our schedule's aligned, and now we can get into it. And I
was just waiting for you to have a 100th episode.
Exactly. Thank you for coming on the show. So, introduce yourself to my listeners.
Sure. Todd McDonald, as Jared mentioned, president of Liberty Bank and Trust Company. We're headed out of New Orleans, Louisiana, but we have locations in 11 different states. We are the largest Black-owned bank in the U.S., and we are the only Black-owned bank to become a billion-dollar bank in the United States history. So happy to be here. I'm also a father of three, married to my wife, Crystal, for 11 years. And we still trying to hold it down for New Orleans.
That's what's up, man. Thank you. Largest bank in America. That's what's up. Huge milestone right there. So let's get right into it. So what got you into the banking industry?
So my father, who was the president of Liberty for the last 50 years, exposed me to banking as a child. So I'm 42 years old. Kind of gave up your age range on that one, but 42 years old, and I've seen banking. Even at the kitchen table when I was younger, I used to help package bags for turkey giveaways, when I was a little kid. And so my dad would always talk to me about banking and his job as a leader of an organization that can help families and individuals across America achieve their financial dreams. And so I would always engage with a lot of his friends that would come over, or a lot of his business clients that would come over, and I would meet with them and just be inspired. And so I got a taste at a really young age. Didn't really know I wanted to go into Liberty Bank. I actually kind of took a liking to investment banking, just really based off of the movie Trading Places. So I had kind of like commercial banking and then Wall Street investment banking. And I was like, that looks a little funner than what my dad is going through here. So I pursued a career in investment banking through an internship that I had actually in Atlanta at Maynard Jackson's Jackson Securities firm, and realized that I did not like investment banking at all. So I kind of pivoted a little bit, kind of found my legs. And, as I started to understand, what my father was doing, what my family members who were here at the bank were doing, it started to ring in my mind like, okay, well, I would love to work with my family, work with my father in this capacity. And I've been with the bank for 21 years now. So it's been a blessing.
That's what's up, man. That's what's been. Yeah, I haven't realized it's been that long. 21 years with the bank. Wow.
Yeah, 21.
Time flies. All right.
Yeah.
So, can you give people a little brief background about Liberty Bank and Trust and Company so people have a understanding where the bank comes from, how it started?
Sure. So we were founded in 1972, right here in New Orleans on Tulane Avenue. We actually were founded out of a double wide trailer. So we didn't even have a building when we started the bank. When my father and Dr. Francis started the bank. Dr. Francis is our chairman. He built, or helped build Xavier University of Louisiana. And so the two of them, my father and Dr. Francis, were the two that came together and made what Liberty is today. So started off in a trailer, and now we're a full service bank. We've been through challenges as a company, and we've weathered the storms. And so of our 50 years, we've been profitable for 45 out of the 50 years. So we had 5 years where we did not make money. 3 were during the Louisiana oil bust in the late 80s, I think 87, 88, and 89. And then we tried something new and lost a few $100,000 in 1999. And then we lost a lot of money during Hurricane Katrina. And so when I say, weather the storms, literally, figuratively and literally, have weathered storms. And so back when Hurricane Katrina hit, we were only about a $300 million bank. And, we lost everything. We lost 90% of our staff. We lost 70% of our client base. We lost basically all of our branches except the ones in Baton Rouge at the time. And but we bounced back pretty well, and we were blessed to go through that storm and get through it and be on the other side of it. And a lot of our regulators did not think we were going to make it. Actually, they were like, we were kind of a little nervous. Y'all weren't going to be here. So that's a little history of the bank, and just a fun fact, I guess. In 1973, Liberty Bank lent the money for the first African American person to own a seat on the New York Stock Exchange. So we lent Harold Doley, I forget how much it was, but he was the first Black person to own a seat on the New York Stock Exchange. And we're very proud of that. That was a year after we opened. And we're still making a lot of investments, making a lot of loans to individuals that are moving the needle for our community.
Great. That was some great information right there. I didn't realize that about the stock exchange. You also celebrated over 100 years of being in business, correct? Recently, right?
50 years.
50 years. I'm sorry, 50 years.
Yeah. My job is to take us to 100. So.
Right. Right. So let's talk about what is banking. A lot of people just think a bank is just there to put your money in, save it, open up a checking savings account, and apply for a loan for a business or a house, anything like that. But can you elaborate how a bank operates?
Sure, and I'll talk specifically more around, Liberty Bank and other minority depository institutions. So a bank obviously is a pathway to receive capital. So if you want to start a business and you need a loan to buy equipment, a bank is there to provide that capital. And so when you talk about, or when the conversation around the country or around the world is talking about access to capital, this is, right here in this seat is literally where a lot of these connections get done, as ground zero. And so capital can not only help you start a business, but it could help you buy a home, help you buy an apartment complex, help you buy an already operating business. And it could also provide mechanisms to help a person's monthly cash flow. So when I talk about cash flow, let's say if somebody's making $5,000 a month, and 45 of it is going out the door with rent and with bills. Debt consolidation loans can provide a mechanism for you to retain $2,500 of that monthly income rather than spending 45. So we're here to be helpful. Unfortunately, just 50 years ago, they did not have a lot of Black-owned banks at all. And a lot of members of communities of color did not have access to capital at all. Again, that's just 50 years ago. So, the birthing of Liberty and other Black-owned institutions was very important and critical to underserved communities, because, if you were Black in 1972 and you wanted to buy a home, the likelihood of that was very slim. Or if you wanted to buy a business, an existing business with a loan from a bank, that was not the traditional, method of us building wealth in our community. So, when you look at banking in general, they had almost about 100 Black-owned banks during the 80s and late 70s, early 80s, and then you started seeing a lot of the banking institutions consolidate. You started seeing a lot of people going out of business just because of the oil busts and all of these different industry ups and downs. A lot of institutions could not sustain. So as of right now, it's called minority depository institutions. So Black-owned banks, Asian-owned banks, women-owned banks, Hispanic-owned banks all fall into that MDI category. Right now, to date, there are only 150 of us throughout the over 4,000 banks in the country. Only 150 or minority depository institutions. So what does that mean? That means that access to capital to minority communities or underserved communities has a challenge. When you look at our portfolios as a bank, 90% of our loans go to people of color, go to businesses of color, go to underserved communities. So it's not just about color, it's about, if you live in a rural part of the country and you need access to capital. So when you think about MDIs, we're trying to plug a really, really big hole. Because again, 150, we only represent, low single digit number of the entire banking system.
Right.
So if you look at other banks that are not MDIs in their representation of loans to businesses of color or people of color represent 1 or 2%, then you do the math, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in, where we have a wealth gap that exists, an extremely big wealth gap that exists, especially in the African American community.
Wow, I never even heard of that. That's some crazy numbers. Out of 4,000 banks, we only represent 100 and what was it, 150?
150, and that includes Asian, Hispanic, and women-owned.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, wow.
And that goes back to the importance of why we need your support. If we go out of business, then we can't help anybody. So, we're trying to accomplish our mission, and with the support of our communities is very important.
Right, I agree with that. Wow, that's some crazy numbers. I never realized that. All right, so so we talked about you can go in there and get a loan for your business, personal loan. We talked about you get a checking and savings account. We talked about the numbers between the minority banking and the majority, the bigger banks. Wow, that's astonishing. So what would you tell someone who wants to get into the banking industry? What should they do? Should they just get a certification, go to college? Because that's usually a lot of arguments now. A lot of people don't want to go to school because they don't want to get into financial debt. What do you recommend to somebody who wants to get into the banking financial industry?
Well, from experience, shadowing somebody or interning with a bank would probably be good, because you don't want to do like me and pursue your whole collegiate career into investment banking, and then you get into the investment banking and you don't like it. So I would say volunteer, intern, get a part-time job in a bank, and make sure you get it in the right bank. Some banks have different environments, and that might not really match up with what you're passionate about. So they have a lot of very conservative banks. So if you're in it to be helpful to as many people as possible, maybe that bank is not the right fit. You need a more sort of community approach. So community banks, or make up a big segment of those 4,000 banks. So I would say start there. You don't need college education. Matter of fact, we took that off of our requirements for jobs, because that's not necessary to do what we do. And I'm not trying to discourage people from going to college by any means, but that don't let that hold you back. Don't self-select out because you don't have that degree or certification. And really just, if you're passionate about helping people, this is a way for you to make money as well as help people. So I feel like it's sort of like a nonprofit sort of atmosphere or environment, but we're making money as a for-profit. So it's cool. It's the best of both worlds.
Okay, Cool. All right. So since you've been in the industry for so long, what are some of the do's and don'ts once somebody gets into the industry? Like they already found a mentor, they started working in the industry. What are some do's and don'ts they shouldn't do? Oh, it should or should do.
So I would say dues in terms of you got to continuously evolve. Banking is not going to stay the same. It's never stayed the same, and it won't in the future. So you have to evolve. You have to be willing to grow and adopt different technology and different practices. You have to follow the pathway that the client wants to go down, even though it may not make sense to you. You have to be flexible because if that's where the environment's going, that's where you want to be. The don'ts, don't get yourself into personal financial trouble because uh, you want to come to a place. You want to be in a place of strength and experience. So you want to be able to help people navigate financial ups and downs. So if for some reason you fall behind on bills or you get into a bad financial situation, try to get yourself out of that situation as fast as possible, and even asking the financial institution that you work for help to get out of that financial position. Don't I would say don't grow too fast. We've seen a lot of companies, that jump into the industry and they try to grow, you know, 1,000%, in 2 years, and that's not what this industry is about. Um, we're here to last. This is not a flip situation. Uh, they have companies out there that'll flip banks, but when you kind of look at it, it's hard for them to do it over and over again because you have to have the right team and the right environment. And also you don't want to tick off the the regulators or things of that nature. So especially here in Louisiana with First NBC growing really fast,
Mhm.
you saw how that played out, and those are some excellent bankers.
We'll talk about that. A lot of people might not realize about what happened to First NBC.
Okay, yeah, yeah. um Yeah, I mean, excellent bankers. They made some wrong moves, and they made some wrong moves probably because they were growing so fast. And so you want to always have controlled growth, and really make sure you're sticking to your mission.
Okay. All right. And you talked a little bit about regulations. Can you talk about how banks are regulated? Because a lot of people don't know about how banks are regulated by the government.
Sure. Yeah. So the FDIC, OCC, OFI. Some banks are into different financial services where they're regulated by the SEC as well. And so basically, those are the government entities that help us stay in business. Basically, they are the doctors of our industry. So we have checkups, multiple times in a year. We actually just wrapped up an examination last week, and so they're there to make sure that we're not doing anything off course. They're making sure that our audits are being done, everything is coming back, everything is reconciling with the general ledger and the balance sheet. Also making sure that we don't make too risky of loans because again, we're in this business to lend money out, but number one goal is to get it back as well. So, we all lose if we don't get the money back. So they want to make sure that we're using sound business practices as well as following compliance. Not charging, Jared an exorbitant, interest rate just because he went to Brother Martin, and
Mm.
charging, Amy a low interest rate just because she went to St. Mary's. You have to really make sure you're following guidelines that are best practices to make sure that everything is fair and equitable as a business and as a bank. Because again, getting access to capital is a fundamental way of building wealth. So we want to make sure that we're doing it in the right ways.
Okay. Copy that. So You alluded to it earlier. You were talking about that if you one of your dues is to be technology savvy, right? So, what are some technologies that your bank utilizes to do business?
So a lot of the technology we actually adopted, years ago. It's really been, the communities that we serve typically are lagging behind on technology in some cases. So the technology infrastructure we made an investment on years ago, and now we're starting to turn on all of the buttons and pulling down the levers, but basically giving people access to their money across multiple platforms, um, providing ways to get what they want and what they need much easier, um, making partnerships. So we have a partnership with some of the largest banks. So J.P. Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, U.S. Bank, Citibank. A Liberty customer can use any of their ATMs around the world for free.
Okay.
So when you look at, again, access, if you want to do cash or if you want to do, we're not into digital coins just yet. That's a pretty sensitive and heavy topic, just because of the security that it involves, or the lack of security that is out there in regards to digital currencies. Um, and we're looking at different things like for AI, in being more predictable, like predicting almost a repayment pattern for
Mhm.
certain personas. So looking at all of the data in the thousands of loans that we have on our books, you know, is Todd 42 years old? Where does he live? What type of income does he take home? All of these different things. How does Todd pay his bills? So we're using different forms of technology to analyze that even further, so we could actually predict and say, hey, Todd, look, we saw your credit card balance was getting to the max. Here's the extra 5,000 or $10,000 increase, because we're your bank. We want to be there for you, and you don't even have to come in and sign any papers. We're just going to automatically do it through technology. So that's a lot of the different benefits that we're focusing on and investing in.
Okay. Cool. All right. Um, we all just getting out of the COVID pandemic, and I know a lot of people, some people like to still go into the banks a lot. How did COVID impact your business during that time of the pandemic, and how did y'all get out of it?
I mean, it was as crazy for us as it was for everybody. um, it was scary, but it was also amazing on how the U.S. recovered from it. And SBA PPP loans were critical to us getting on the other side of COVID. Um, had a lot of businesses that we provided PPP loans for, and we gained a lot of business just because some of the larger organizations, just because of the size, could not handle all of their customers. So we had a lot of customers going into um, banks like Liberty, and they've heard of us, but they never did any banking with us for whatever reason. And then when we helped them with the PPP loan, they saw, hey, this is a community bank. This is a bank that is just as good as some of these other institutions, and they actually treat me as a client, not a number. So a lot of the smaller banks, a lot of the community banks, um, got a really good reputation, because it makes all of the sense in the world for you to have a relationship with a financial institution. Excuse me. Even if you have a bank account at a larger institution, you probably don't want to put your eggs in one basket. So you want to have multiple relationships, especially when you're dealing with finance.
Okay. You want to elaborate on why is that so important? Because a lot of people think it's better just to keep all your money in one bank instead of multiple. You want to elaborate on that? Why?
So I think you could use banks for different things. I mean, some banks are going to give you a higher interest rate, but may not be the bank that approves your business loan. Some banks give a lower interest rate, but maybe the bank that approves your business loan. So it's a balancing act, and we don't try to be everything to everybody. We know who we're a good fit for. We're not trying to compete for deposits on a daily basis. You have banks out there that are changing their interest rates on a daily basis so they can get as much as possible, and it kind of reflects their business model. So maybe they don't need as much deposits, or maybe they need more deposits than they have, and they have to be competitive. We try to keep an even balance. So when you look at purchasing homes, purchasing businesses, purchasing equipment, certain banks are going to provide easier access or harder access to some of those products and outcomes. So you really want to have probably 2 to 3 banking relationships. And, your main bank account with like a Liberty Bank is very important, just because the way banking works, the amount of deposits we have, we try to lend it out. So if you're only keeping $50, and we're one of 3 bank accounts that you have, and you have $50 with us, that's not helping us move the needle in terms of our mission and in our capacity. So we would appreciate to earn your business, to have your main account, to have your direct deposit from your employer coming into our institution, and then we lend that back out, and then you could park, other savings accounts and stuff like that elsewhere.
Okay, copy. Gotcha. Cool. So since you're the president of Liberty Bank, so what would you recommend to somebody who is looking for opportunity to work in the finance industry, as far as like they're trying to get in, like hiring process? What do you recommend they should do to get on in the banking industry?
Well, I think you can visit our website. We have job postings, libertybank.net. And poke around and see where you want to get involved. But banking is not the most attractive industry in today's time. I mean, finance is very necessary. Banking is very, very necessary, but it's not, Google is not Meta. And so, recruiting for bankers is actually challenging. We don't have a lot of people that want to get into this industry, especially a lot of younger folks.
Okay.
They don't necessarily see the connection of what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. It comes kind of later down the line when they're trying to pursue different financial goals of themselves. So yeah, check out all of the job websites. Check out your banks. It's fun.
Okay.
I don't know if I told that properly, but it's fun.
No, you answered it. I never realized that young people didn't want to get not appealing to the bank industry. That's kind of crazy. I never realized that. I thought they would, because that's how you have to access capital. Okay. So talk about being the president of Liberty Bank and how it was when you got that news that you would be selected as the president of Liberty Bank, and what are your day-to-day duties as being president of Liberty Bank?
Yeah, so when the board in the board meeting, when they voted me to become president, I mean, it was an honor, blessing, something that I worked hard for, just because my father started the bank along with Dr. Francis. I didn't, that wasn't going to get me this position just because of that. So it was full circle. Hopefully, God willing, I'll be here for a very long time and in this position and leading this company in significant ways. And it's a good fit. I think people are always like, well, what if you won the Powerball? Would you quit your job? And I'm like, no, actually, I would double down on, like, how can I do exactly what I'm doing, if I won the Powerball? but do it on an elevated level. And so just understanding that about myself, about my career path, about my upbringing, understand what experiences have led me to this position, and why some of the choices or some of the things that I've done around here were successful. It's very, rewarding. Um, my daily duties are basically to make sure that the bank is profitable, so that way we stay in business. We make loans, we make good loans, um, and we stay in compliance. I mean, those are kind of the three main things that um, as a leader of a bank is basically responsible for. Obviously, a lot of details, but I had a conversation with the largest black-owned farm company in Alabama on Friday, and they're a fifth generation business.
Okay.
So amazing conversations. We're going to do some business with them. Their family's been owning thousands of acres in Alabama since 1877.
Mm.
So I engage with companies like that. I also got a phone call this morning where a client's son is going through a breakup, and he and his partner or they bought the house together, and now he wants to purchase his partner from the house, and so but he doesn't have good credit, and so I have those conversations as well. So it could go from A to Z. And I've um, always constantly trying to figure out different partnerships on how we continue to grow. If we don't grow, we're not going to stay in business, and that's mostly what we've seen. So Liberty, we've acquired 12 different banks over our history, and most of the time the institutions that we've acquired were sort of stale. They didn't adopt new technology, they didn't adopt new practices, and so just making sure that we continue to evolve on a daily basis.
Great, great. I'm glad you said that because when I was doing research, I saw that you bought numerous banks. And so, how do you all go about pursuing purchasing banks? Like, are the banks advertising them with for sale, or is just something you just go to them with an offer? How does that work?
It could work a couple of different ways. Typically, we purchase failed banks
Mm.
or banks that are in trouble, and we turn them around. Once we incorporate them into our platform. So there are failed bank opportunities. They are banks that don't have a succession plan. So their board is very mature, their leadership is very mature, and they don't have a bench of talent to follow them and continue that bank's legacy. So those become purchasing opportunities as well. And then, you have banks geographically or strategically might be in a certain lane of business that's attractive to you, and you want to pursue them. And so you start to have a conversation with them, and seeing if they would be willing to sell and merge into to your institution.
Okay, cool. So, I have a few more questions for you because I know you're a busy man. So, uh, how does the board work, and how do you become a board member? Because it's very interesting to me because I didn't realize that banks had boards. I
Yeah.
thought I thought that was only for nonprofit organizations and publicly traded companies.
No, no. So Liberty, we're a privately held company.
Mm.
Um, we have less than 100 shareholders, so our company is really tightly held. Our board is made up of individuals that share the passion and the mission that we've run with for the last 50 years. So individuals that are connected to the community, individuals that are experts in their fields, whether it's legal, whether it's accounting, whether it's business ownership, or um, such as Dr. Francis, leaders of education. So,
Mm.
we really try to find the best in class individuals that have sort of the same North Stars, if you will, individuals that, carry high morale and ethically operate in very good ways. and because you don't want to have someone, on your board that's just in it for the money. You want somebody that has empathy, that understands challenges when challenges present themselves, and not run away when the tough times come. So it's I'm not gonna say it's threading the needle, but you have a lot of different factors that come up in selecting a board member.
Okay.
The last time we had myself and two others become board members in 2015 or 2017. So it's been a while since we've added, but we are looking, just because of our geographic, kind of footprint. We're looking for more diversity from a geographic standpoint. Um, so yeah, that's our board makeup. But a
Okay.
lot of banks, they'll have board members that are initial investors. So starting a bank is really hard, especially nowadays. And so you look at newer banks have a lot of individuals that invested money in their institution and get started, actually become board members as well.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So let's talk about your work-life balance and how you're able to maintain being president of a bank, being a father, husband, son, uncle, all that good stuff. So how do you balance work life?
I'm not in balance. I'm not. Um, you know, it's my wife of 11 years. She really helps sort of manage me. So she's my boss, as most people would say.
Mm,
Um, and so she'll say, "Hey, you've been on the road, you know, 2 weeks in a row. You need to go to the basketball game. You need to go to the piano recital. Why don't you take the kids to practice?" So she really makes sure that I'm very attentive with my kids and engaged. I bring my kids to school every day, so
yeah.
I'm the drop off man. Um, and so we have conversations in the car, all that good stuff. And then for my wife and I, like, we have our date night. Wednesday nights is our date night, and on the weekends we try to just spend time just with ourselves. So sometimes if I have an event to go to represent the bank, I'll do that. But for the most part, Saturday is kid fun day. Sunday is kid fun day and rest day, and going to church, of course. Um, so we try to really spend quality time on Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay. I like that plan. I
Yeah.
yeah, I used to be the most of the time bring kids and pick them up stuff, but now they think they grown now, so now they want to catch the bus. So
Okay.
it's all good. I mean, hey, I didn't like it at first because I actually like dropping them off, picking them up, or
Yeah,
walking to
yeah.
them and talking to them. But now I got used to it, so I was like, hey, now I got some more free time.
Right,
Uh,
right. Work out and stuff.
right. So speaking, working in the community and stuff like that. Let's talk about all other organizations that you are in.
I'm oversubscribed, brother. I, I'll, I'll like forget that I'm a part of an organization most of the time, but one board that I'm on is the National Bankers Association. So that's based out of DC, and uh, that's a board that I'm really proud of. Um, I'm also on the City Parks board. I just joined the City Park board.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And actually, well, I guess I could say it in here because it's not public, but it's not secret anymore. But I became an honorary member of the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club, which
Right,
I'm
right.
I'm looking
Welcome,
forward
welcome.
to. Thank you, thank you. Looking forward to spending more time with that organization, because the organization does a lot of cool things, and especially in the community. So yeah, I would say those are top three. I'm on a lot more. I decline positions more than I do in accepting them, and I'll probably try to step off a few of them just because it's I'm missing the meetings, just because I'm overcommitted.
Gotcha, gotcha. I mean, not gonna talk about your frat, man. Come on, bro. You gotta talk about your frat.
Hey, look, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is also a, a good membership that I'm honored to be a part of as well. Absolutely, absolutely, and you know, helping out with different things around the community, or I'm going to LA next week, and I have a function with the alphas out there that I'll be a part of, and so yeah, like I said, I go on and on about memberships and stuff, and all of them are important.
Mhm.
It's just how do I manage the time and commitment to each of them.
Right. I agree. I'm in several organizations. But now I'm in two organizations with you at the same time. Um, shout out to
Yeah,
Coterie.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
yeah, it's a lot to be a family man, working and being giving back to community. So let's talk about what is the future you see for Liberty Bank and Trust and Company. What is your footprint, the future?
Sure. So we're evolving, so making sure that our digital evolution is very crisp and very functional and very efficient. There are bots out there where you can get a bot to do certain things. So we're looking at, all right, what are the pros and cons of that? Because we don't want to become too digital, where the computers start to take over us. But we do know we need to evolve and become more efficient, more cost conscious about the way we navigate the future. We always want to grow, and growing doesn't necessarily translate into a lot of branches. We try to keep our business model pretty lean on the physical operations side of things. But I see the bank just continuously growing and being more of an expert in a space that you know i- is necessary. We don't want to just help this community just because that's where we're located. We want to help the community that we're not even located in, but we still are applying our expertise in lending to those individuals, families, and businesses, so we can try to bridge that gap, or make that gap smaller in terms of wealth for the communities that we serve. So when you talk about growth, how do we do it for 1 million people? How do we do it, for 2 million people? So just continuing down that pathway, making sure we stay aligned with our mission, and just being here for our clients.
All right, cool. All right, I got a couple more questions, then I'll let you go, sir.
All right.
So, what was that moment that you realized that you were being successful, that you were on the correct path, being successful?
Um, I would say, going back to my statement earlier when I was like, well, if I hit the Powerball, do I want to go sit on a beach? And I'm like, no, like, maybe I go for 1 day or 2 days, whatever, but like I want to double down on what I've been doing for the last 21 years.
Okay.
And so that's success to me. Another moment is when so Jamie Dimon, Chairman, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, he invited my dad and I to do a panel with him in New York at their headquarters, and it was broadcast around the world at every JP Morgan office. And my dad actually at first said he couldn't make it, and they were like, okay, well we'll just take Todd. You don't have to come. I mean, Todd's president anyway, right? So I was like,
Mm.
oh man, like this is pretty real. Always always kind of underestimate myself sometimes. So I'm like, no, I am an expert. I'm very good at what I do, and yes, I can talk on the stage with Jamie Dimon. So, but long story short, I ultimately convinced my dad to come, and it was a really good event. So it's myself, my father, and Jamie Dimon. Like I said, on stage talking about how do we help communities build wealth, and JP Morgan's been an excellent partner for Liberty. They've been an excellent mentor. We are actually a mentee bank of JP Morgan. So they only mentored two banks in the United States, and we're one of them.
Okay.
So we have a really, really good relationship with them, and they help us think through different things. And they're very, you know, invested in us for our future.
Okay. That's what's up. I didn't even know banks did. I didn't even know big banks did that. The mentee programs. That's what's up. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I had one more question. I just drew a blank, but I was about to ask you. It'll come to me. Well, thanks you for your time. I appreciate you. Oh, this is what it was. It wasn't a question. It was a moment that I had when I saw you at that JP Morgan event. It was at the Riverwalk.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I forgot it was a partnership with JP Morgan and I think other influencers, finance in New Orleans area.
Yeah, the Shark Tank guy.
Yeah.
Damon John.
Yeah, Damon John was there. Ian Dunlap spoke a little bit. Wall Street Trapper was there. So what happened was I got that late because I got the time wrong because my son had a game and I thought it was going to be later than it was supposed to. We got that late, and so I walked in with my son, and so I guess people was like amazed that I had at the time he was only 8 or 9, and so the lady brought us all the way in the front in the front row. And so my son was there taking notes on the iPad, and I didn't know you were gonna be there.
Nice.
And so I saw your name on the panel. I was like, "Oh, that's Todd." I was like, "Oh." So I told my son, I was like, "Hey, I went to school with him. No, that's one of my good friends. He's with Brother Martin. He's the president of Liberty Bank." He was like, "Really, really, really?" So I say that to say that that you really, really shine the light to my son about financing and like being in leadership roles. And now he wants to start his own business. He wants to be in the financial industry. He doesn't know what he wants to do yet. He definitely won't be an entrepreneur, but seeing people of color in high leadership roles really inspired him. So when he saw you and me after the fact, I introduced him who you was, he was like, "Man, that's great. He's the president. He's the leader of a bank." I said, "Yeah." So I thank you for doing things like that because you impacting the younger generation and you might not even realize it. So I want to thank you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you for that feedback. I did not know. I was doing my job that day, it seemed like.
Right. You saw the panel, everything. It was crazy. It was a crazy sound. But that's all I got for you, sir. I want to thank you for coming on the show for my 100th episode. Thank you. Let the people know where they can come to Liberty Bank, follow your services, or even follow you. I know you're not a social media type of person, but let them know how to follow your business.
LibertyBank.net is our website. Our colors are black and green. So if you don't see black and green, you have the wrong website. But again, we're down in New Orleans, headquartered here. I'll pop around in different parts of the city, and then I travel a lot. So you might see me in a picture here or there. But like Jared mentioned, I'm not on social media. I don't really have a lot of time. So that's one of the things that I gave up so that I could spend time doing other things. So, but thank you, Jared, for your platform. Thank you for having me. Honored to be your 100th episode guest. Like I said, I was trying to coordinate that myself. But no, thank you for what you're doing. Exposure is key for our kids, for us as professionals. If we're not exposed to something, then we're going to go without knowing. And when you experience certain things and when you expose people to certain things, just like your son, now he has a different aspiration. Now he knows that this can be done. So thank you for providing your platform to do just that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, follow, and like this. Share. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything across the land. Thank you for joining us. Peace. We out.
See y'all.